The Prime Minister has begun his overseas travels, making his first stop in Singapore. But Scott Morrison may not be the only Australian visiting the country in the near future. Both leaders have revealed a strong interest in resuming two-way travel when the health situation in both countries is safe to do so. Political editor Andrew Clennell is there and filed this report.
On his way to the G7 Plus meeting in Cornwall, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has met with the Singaporean Prime Minister Hsien Loong. But you can see how far away the two countries are from a travel bubble arrangement, with the fact that the press conference after the bilateral meeting had to occur virtually. Nevertheless, both leaders were excited about the prospect of a bubble, with Scott Morrison revealing Singapore is next cab off the rank after New Zealand, and Prime Minister Lee talking about a digital vaccine passport system to facilitate it when it's possible.
We'll now work together to put the infrastructure in place, to put the systems in place to enable us to open up in a similar way that we've been able to open up to New Zealand from Australia when we're both in a position to do so.
We need to prepare the infrastructure and the processes to get ready to do this, and it starts with mutual recognition of health and vaccination certificates, possibly in a digital form, very likely.
Prime Minister Morrison has met the Singaporean leader as he seeks to test the temperature of views from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations ahead of the G7 Plus summit. He has also recently spoken to the Indonesian President and the Vietnamese Prime Minister, with a big focus of the summit expected to be China and the issue of economic coercion. I asked the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee what attitude should be taken in the relationships between G7 countries and Australia and China. Prime Minister, you've spoken before about your concerns about the US and China hardening their positions against each other. In Australia, we can't even get a minister-to-minister dialogue with China anymore. As the Australian Prime Minister heads to the G7 Plus, what is your advice to Australia and the G7 on how to handle relationships with China?
That the relationship with China is one of the biggest foreign policy questions for every major power in the world. You need to work with the country. It is going to be there. It's going to be a substantial presence, and you can cooperate with it, you can engage it, you can negotiate with it, but it has to be a long and mutually constructive process. And you don't have to make it, you don't have to become like them, neither can you hope to make them become like you. There will be rough spots, and not few, and you have to deal with them, but deal with them as issues in a partnership which you want to keep going.
Mr Morrison will now fly to Cornwall for what he is viewing as some of the biggest meetings of his career, including with the US President, UK Prime Minister and French President.